The first thing you need to be careful about is rushing emotional intimacy. When they come back, your heart wants to sprint. You want to talk for hours, to catch up, to fill the silence that's been haunting you. You want to remind them of what you had, to make up for all the lost time. You want to say, "See, I never stopped caring." But to an avoidant, emotional speed feels like danger. It's not that they don't care, they actually do. It's just that closeness for them has always carried a shadow of fear. For most avoidants, love feels safest when there's space. When you move too close too soon, it can feel like they're losing their air. So when you start diving into deep talks, when you ask what this patch-up means, when you try to plan the future, or talk about all that went wrong, they quietly start to withdraw. Not because they've stopped loving you, but because they're trying to find oxygen again. To them, even your warmth can feel overwhelming if it comes too fast. They need time to regulate, to feel like they still have control over their emotions.
Two views.
They're not rejecting you, they're protecting their sense of safety. So here's the truth: if you want this connection to last, you have to slow down. After patch up with an avoidant, 5 things you must never do. After weeks, maybe months of silence, they reached out again. A message, a call, a small, "Hey." And for a brief moment, your heart felt light, like maybe this time, everything you hoped for is finally falling into place. The texts start flowing again. The calls come late at night. There's a quiet "I miss you," or that subtle comfort in knowing they're still there. And your heart whispers, maybe this time, it'll be different. But what most people don't realize is this: the patch-up isn't the ending. It's not the fairy tale reunion you imagined. It's a test. Because when you get back with an avoidant, you're not returning to the same love story, you're stepping into a reflection that shows you how much you've grown, how much you've learned, and whether your boundaries can survive the same patterns again. Avoidants rarely come back healed, they come back curious to see if love can finally feel safe, if they can stay this time without feeling trapped. And what you do next, your tone, your pace, your expectations, will decide whether that safety is built or whether it breaks again. Because a second chance with an avoidant isn't about fixing the past, it's about understanding what not to repeat. In today's video, we're uncovering the 5 things you must never do after patching up with an avoidant, if you truly want this time to mean something real. The second thing you need to be careful about is demanding reassurance. After a patch-up, it's natural to crave clarity. You want to know where you stand, you want to feel secure, to hear words that confirm, "Yes, we're okay this time." And so the questions start coming out almost unconsciously. Do you still love me? Are you serious about us now? Should I trust this again? But to an avoidant, these words don't feel like love, they feel like pressure. Because reassurance for them is not safety, it's expectation, and expectation makes them want to retreat. Avoidants aren't wired to handle emotional intensity in words. When you ask them to define the relationship too soon, they start to feel cornered, like every answer they give will either disappoint you or lock them into something they're not yet ready to face. The truth is, reassurance doesn't build security in an avoidant. Consistency does. They trust what they see, not what they're asked to say. So instead of chasing verbal confirmation, pay attention to their actions. Notice how they show up, slowly, quietly, but steadily. For an avoidant, love often speaks through behavior. The quiet check-in, the message they didn't have to send, the small effort to reconnect after distance, that's their language. So don't demand emotional proof, give them space to offer it naturally. Because when you stop pressuring them to say love, you create the safety for them to show it. And that's when the connection starts to feel real, not forced, not fragile, but earned. The third thing you need to be careful about is confusing peace with healing. After the patch-up, things might feel calm, no fights, no tension, no chaos. It finally feels good again, peaceful, simple, quiet. You start to think, maybe we're finally okay now. But here's the truth: sometimes peace isn't healing, sometimes it's just avoidance in disguise. Avoidance often mistakes silence for safety. If nothing's being discussed, nothing can go wrong. If no emotions are shared, no rejection can happen. They feel safe when everything is calm, but sometimes that calm is emotional distance dressed up as peace. So don't confuse no problems with everything's fine, because peace without emotional connection is just emptiness that doesn't hurt yet. You need to ask yourself, is the peace between us built on real understanding, or on silence? Is this quiet a sign of comfort, or just a pause before another wall goes up? Because when an avoidant feels unsafe, they often hide behind everything's fine. True healing doesn't come from avoiding triggers, it comes from learning how to stay calm inside them. You can't build real closeness by pretending pain doesn't exist. You build it by learning how to talk through it without losing peace. So don't let fake peace silence real intimacy. Speak gently, not urgently. Ask softly, not accusingly. Let your tone be an invitation, not an interrogation, because true peace doesn't come from avoiding emotions, it comes from feeling safe enough to express them. When both people can share what's real without fear, that's when the silence finally turns into healing, not hiding. The fourth thing you need to be careful about is overgiving to keep them. This one hurts, and it's more common than you think. When the avoidant comes back, your heart quietly whispers, I can't lose them again, so you start trying harder. You give more love, more patience, more understanding, you let small things slide, you silence your feelings, and you tell yourself, it's okay, at least they're here. But here's the truth, peace that costs your self-respect isn't peace. When you shrink yourself to keep them comfortable, you're teaching them that love means disappearing. That's not healing, that's self-abandonment disguised as care. Avoidants already fear being consumed by someone else's emotions, so when you start overgiving, you unknowingly confirm their fear. That love always means losing freedom, that connection always means being controlled. You think you're helping them feel safe, but you're actually proving their inner fear true. You are not meant to carry the relationship alone, you are meant to walk beside them, not behind them. So if you find yourself walking on eggshells, pause, take a deep breath, ask yourself, am I doing this out of love, or out of fear of losing them? Because the version of you that overgives out of fear will always invite the same ending again. You don't heal someone by abandoning yourself, you heal the connection by standing tall in your truth, by showing that love doesn't mean losing your voice. So love them, yes, be kind, yes, but don't disappear in the process, because the moment you lose yourself trying to make them stay, you've already lost the most important part of love. The last thing you need to be careful about is expecting the old love to fit your new growth. This is one of the hardest truths to accept after patching up with an avoidant. You can't rebuild the same relationship you had before, because the truth is, both of you have changed. You've walked through silence, confusion, and pain. You've seen what happens when communication breaks, and you've learned in your own way what doesn't work anymore. So when you come back together, it can't be about going back. It has to be about going forward. Avoidants don't heal through repetition, they heal through redefinition. They don't need you to bring back the old version of love, they need to see that you're both capable of building something new, something safer, slower, and more grounded. If you try to recreate the old us, you'll fall into the same loop. You'll start overgiving, they'll start withdrawing, and soon you'll both end up right where you left off, confused, distant, and silently breaking again. So instead, take this as a chance to start fresh, set new boundaries, move at a new pace, build with patience, not pressure. Because real love isn't about what you used to be, it's about what you both choose to become next. Let this second chance be a new story, not a rewrite of the old one. Let it be about growth, not guilt. And remember, the goal isn't to get back to who you were, it's to grow into who you're meant to be, together. Because love after distance only lasts when you stop trying to repeat the past, and start learning how to build a better future. So after a patch-up with an avoidant, don't chase, don't demand, and don't overgive. Just stay steady. Because avoidants don't stay for intensity, they stay for safety. They stay where love doesn't feel like pressure, but like peace. When they realize you're not trying to control them, when your calm replaces their fear, that's when they start to trust the connection again. Not because you convinced them, but because you made love feel safe enough to stay. This time it's not about fixing what broke before. It's about creating something that doesn't have to break the same way again. Something quieter, something real, something that grows from patience, not panic. Because in love with an avoidant, peace is louder than words, and safety is more powerful than passion. So take it slow, breathe through the silence, and let love unfold at the pace where both of you can finally feel free, not to run but to stay.